In the words of the great now Hall of Famer Brian Dawkins, hallelujah! The Eagles finally have done it. They are the Super Bowl champions. I still can't believe this. They beat the New England Patriots 41-33. We are here to break it down here on the Next Game, New Game podcast. Matt Catrillo here with you. Alex joining me once again this week, Alex Kozora. What a game, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, first I got to say congratulations.
Thank you.
I was completely wrong about Nick Foles. I didn't think you guys could get to a Super Bowl with him, let alone win one, let alone beat the New England Patriots in the process, let alone beat them in a shootout in the process. So you got to give so much credit to Foles. Doug Peterson, we'll get into that, the job that he's done. But congratulations. I know the city's going crazy, and rightfully so.
Yes, and we are recording this on a Thursday, the week after the Super Bowl, and, just kind of watch it and soak it in. The Eagles parade down Broad Street right now. Their players are about to take the podium on the bottom of the Art Museum steps, and it's just a magnificent scene in Philadelphia right now. The parade started at Lincoln Financial Field. Now it's heading up Broad Street and finishing up at the Art Museum. They'll have a big pep rally now coming up, and it was expected to be about 3 million, and I'd say it's close, if not has exceeded that. But getting back to the game, you're right, Alex. I mean, my score prediction, I thought the Eagles would win, because, again, I just thought they were the better team overall, except the head coach and quarterback. And the way that they won this game in a shootout, just to me, I think was what's even more remarkable about this. So many records broken in this game. It's really just absolutely remarkable how the Eagles were able to pull this off. And not only that, too, Nick Foles out-duels Tom Brady the way he did. Tom Brady throws for 505 yards. And Doug P., if you didn't know he had stones, you definitely expected that after that play. And I think we're going to start right there. The 4th and goal play at the 1, Alex. Your thoughts on what's now being called the Philly Special?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's called Philly Special because the play is literally named Philly Special. They practice it, I read, throughout the postseason. I think it worked every time, I believe, was the story on that. And I think what that play showed, obviously it was a gutsy call. In hindsight, it was a great call. If it doesn't work, it's a terrible call. If it works, it's fantastic. Was just the relationship between player and coach, and that shows what makes Peterson great. Because, man, I'm sure you saw the NFL mic'd up for that
Nick
play.
Foles was the one that called the play.
Yeah, it was Peterson that said, let's go for it. So he initiates the aggressive mentality. Then Foles comes over to him, says, Philly Special, name of the play. Peterson kind of looks at him for a second, kind of sizes him up, and then says, yeah, let's do it. So you see, Peterson starting it, Foles taking it, and then it works out.
I know. I absolutely love that. And I was thinking they should probably have taken the points there, but again, I've said that about Doug P. all year, and every time he proves me wrong, so I'm just so happy about that. And then you go to the 2 big catches in the game, the one by Zach Ertz that eventually won the game for the Eagles, then the big catch by Corey Clement to give the Eagles a 10-point lead again that made it 29-12. Let's start with your thoughts there, Alex, because we've been talking about all year long of how much is the catch rule really going to bite the NFL in the rear end, the way a lot of games have gone this year in critical games. Would it affect the NFL in the biggest of them? And it did. It was a big factor in this game. Now, it didn't hurt the Eagles in this case because they stuck with the call on the field. Let's start with the Corey Clement play, because there's a lot of debate, and Chris Collinsworth has taken a ton of heat for this on his viewpoint of it, and some to Al Michaels too. What was your view on that as far as when Corey Clement first got possession? It looked like the ball wasn't moving, but it wasn't fully secured either, but it wasn't moving. And then they had the 3 steps, and that 3rd step was out of bounds. And I know Al and Chris were looking at the 3rd step and thinking that it is clearly out of bounds because they didn't think he had possession initially. I was kind of leaning that way, but it was probably the really, really tough call. The call on the field was a touchdown. They stayed with the call on the field, which I think was the right decision. So let me start with there, Alex, what your thought process was there on the Corey Clement touchdown.
Well, I'm not too particularly interested in rehashing, minute details of a catch or no catch, but I thought it was a catch from the get-go. I thought the ball moved slightly, but there was still control. I thought he got both feet down before going out of bounds. So, I thought it was the right call that was made. And you just see, again, being able to out-scheme the Patriots. Philadelphia, they run those wheel routes as effectively as almost any team in the league, and we know New England does a great job with it as well. But I'm just happy for Corey Clement, an undrafted guy, not really thought of highly in the draft, didn't have a good combine, hurt a stock. The Eagles able to find him, mold him, gets more reps throughout the year. And, the Eagles did a great job of finding guys to improve a run game that was, floundering. They get Blunt as the guy to start. They trade for Ajayi, who played pretty well in the game, and then Clement does some third down work. So even without the loss of Darren Sproles, the run game didn't tank. And I like Corey Clement a lot coming out. So I thought he was a really good weapon, and I was happy to see him succeed.
I did too. Once I kind of learned more about this kid, and of course, Glassboro, New Jersey native, so obviously a Philadelphia area native, and I thought he had one of the greatest performances you're going to see from a rookie in Super Bowl history. 4 receptions, 100 yards, that great touchdown. He had another big play that helped set up the Philly special play late in the first half. Again, off a wheel route, like you mentioned, Alex. It's been a big time affection for the Eagles this year. So now we go to the other play involving Zach Ertz, and once you got that first initial look on the replay, clearly he established himself as a runner before he extended for the goal line, lost control of it, but then regained control in the process of it. But either way, that really wouldn't have mattered. And that play, Chris Collinsworth, I know didn't really necessarily agree with that either, but you saw in the replay right after, yeah, it clearly established himself as a runner that time, so that call definitely should have stand, and it was actually confirmed on the field after a look at replay.
Yeah, that was definitely a catch in the sense that he had possession, took 3 steps. I mean, if they would have called that incomplete or a fumble or whatever, it would have been, absurd. But it was just, again, great play call, motion away to get the backside tight end isolated to run the slant, and Ertz, finished the play. So it was good scheme versus good execution. Look at the Alshon Jeffrey touchdown, which was a fantastic catch. He only had 3 catches, but they were all big plays. That's why they brought him in as someone that could win those 50-50 balls at the high point and be physical at the catch point. He showed that. So it's scheme, matching, talent, and it all comes together, and you get 41 points.
I know, which again is just unbelievable. And I know you and I were talking right after the game about that Zach Ertz play, and you said, go back and watch Corey Clement, and that's exactly what happened. He really hauled it the other way to make that space free to get Ertz one-on-one, and then Ertz had that beautiful move to the inside, the slant play to kind of get separation and get the touchdown.
Yeah, but again, I think that's just a scheme thing, because really Clement, just needed to draw the eyes away so they couldn't bracket Ertz, and just to kind of clear out for Ertz to be, isolated on the backside with the corner one-on-one. It's a tough play for the corner to make. Ertz made the catch and scored.
Right, and I think when you take those 2 plays aside from an officiating standpoint, this is one of my other bigger takeaways from this game, is I thought Gene Steratore, now there are other questionable calls. I think he sometimes his crew got a little too conservative, and they were still 6-1 in favor of the Patriots, not to be that guy, but it is still worth pointing out. But again, when you go back to just the replays alone, I thought he handled it better than I think any official has done this year in the biggest of games. Because I think when you go back to those plays that have been so controversial all year, all you have to do is just go back to the basic principles of officiating. What's the call on the field? And if it's too close, just stay with the call on the field. And I think that's exactly what he did. I think he did a great job in kind of standing with those principles.
Yeah, I just thought he was clear in his explanations. He wasn't too muddy about it, but he wasn't too short about it. I mean, I don't want to get too, again, in the weeds about the referees and the calls, because who cares at this point? The game's over. This game wasn't won or lost on the referee call, and I thought generally they made the right decisions. But, no, I thought, it was a tough spot for the officials. I'm sure the NFL was clenching their fists on the Ertz call, seeing how that was going to turn out. But I thought, at the end of the day, refs got it right.
And, of course, that'll be the never-ending debate. Roger Goodell saying in his press conference, stated the NFL address during the Super Bowl week, that this play will get looked at again. This rule, I should say, will get looked at again. So that'll be certainly very interesting to find out during the offseason. Now, when you look at this game as a whole, Alex, you saw all the records broken, the amount of total yards between both teams, that was broken. Yeah, Tom Brady set a new record in passing, 505 yards, though obviously came in the loss there. Numerous other records broken in this game. So put it all together, Alex. Where do you think this Super Bowl ranks?
It's up there. I mean, it's hard for me to try to create a ranking. I haven't thought about it too much. It's not, for me, obviously the Steelers-Cardinals game was still better because of the way it ended with the spectacular catch in the waning, seconds of that one. But this was a great game, and I know some people didn't like that there wasn't defense played, but I don't care. I thought it was exciting. It wasn't the fact that it was terrible defense; it was just really good offense. So it's not like it was a sloppy game or anything along those lines. It was just some big time plays, each side going after it. So it was probably definitely top 10, maybe 5th if I had to guess. I don't have a whole lot, to think about right now. Obviously, the Patriots comeback would be up there in terms of the historical impact and how crazy that one ended. Probably around, I'd probably say 5, 6 all time.
All right, there you go. And that might be a little bit higher than what I had it as, but I think it's definitely top 10. I agree there. And I think your top three are last year, Patriots coming back. I still think the Giants' first Super Bowl 42, when they upset the Patriots, I think that's got to be number two. And then Cardinals, Steelers, number three, I think will have to be my top three. We have 34 in there, and obviously we won't go through all of them, but I think it's definitely inside the top 10 for sure, just because of it. You're right. It was exciting action, start to finish. The game, the biggest deficit was 10 points, and even that, it didn't really last that long because both times that the Eagles took a 10-point lead, the Patriots came right back down the field and scored and made it a one-score game again. So it was just, there was always a ton of back and forth, and obviously everything that happened in the fourth quarter. You had the two catches that we talked about. It was everything I think you could want in a Super Bowl and then some, and especially when you throw the other storylines in there as well. And of course, the Eagles winning their first Super Bowl in franchise history definitely is a way to put it all together. And now, of course, Alex, what comes down to it for the Eagles is every time you win a Super Bowl, sometimes it's going to cost you some coaches, and it may end up being that way for the Eagles. There have been a lot of rumors already prior to the Super Bowl that Jim Schwartz was under consideration for a couple head coaching positions. Now Frank Reich is. We'll talk about that, why, in a second. And Eagles quarterback coach John DeFilippo is in conversations, which we kind of knew about that already. So the reason being for that is, and we'll talk about this now, is Josh McDaniels, who looked like he was going to be taking the Colts head coaching position after the season ended, backs out of the deal. Just an absolute stunner. That breaks last night. And he also lost his agent as well. Agent thinking he's made a big mistake. And now you see the report by Pro Football Talk that the Bears even had some apprehension about that. Would he want to stay in New England? Now he claims that he didn't want to uproot his family, which I guess is legitimate. But even if you got a chance for a head coaching job, why wouldn't you take it? It's just a really precarious situation. And so now this opens things up for the Eagles. Frank Reich's going to be in there for a head coaching move or head coaching interview on Friday, and John DeFilippo's heading to the Vikings for an offensive coordinator interview later in the week as well. But let's start with McDaniels first, Alex. And obviously this coming completely out of nowhere.
Oh, I'm sorry. You cut off for a second there. Just bad internet connection, probably on my part. It was obviously a stunner and a really bad look for Josh McDaniels. Now, it's going to hurt his standing in the league, but if he knows he's going to become the heir to Bill Belichick, he probably doesn't care about what the rest of the league thinks, and he's got his next job lined up. I think the central scene to what happened here is not that McDaniels just turning away the job, but the fact that all the other assistants were hired, new defensive coordinator, different coaches elsewhere on the Colts staff that are now twisting in the wind. They're staying in Indianapolis. The Colts are going to honor those contracts, of course, but their future, of course, is going to be very muddy. The job they took is not the job that they got. You know what I mean? So that's what I think is most disheartening about this whole thing, is you have a bunch of good quality coaches that got a raw deal out of this.
Yeah, I know. You have to feel for them, and it's just it's just a sleazy move, honestly, by McDaniel. By McDaniels rather. If feels like he's got something there. It's going to be his only chance now, because who's going to trust him going forward if he does want to leave New England?
Sure, and I'm sure that thought wasn't lost on him, and he knows he's going to get the New England job, or at least he's supposed to. One
would think, and so let's brainstorm on that real quick here. You and I were talking about this last night. You think this might be this upcoming season, 2018, could be the last year of the Belichick era?
That's just some of the reports. Obviously, the fact that McDaniels is staying, you have to think I don't think it's allowed to be written in a contract, but it's probably some sort of verbal understanding that he's going to take over. And Belichick is, he's 65, 66
I believe
years
he's 65. Well, Pete Carroll's actually is 66. He's the oldest, so that would make Belichick the second oldest.
Yeah. We know the reports that have come out. I don't know exactly how much of all that is true. But Belichick's not going to be coaching for 15 more years, so it's very well possible that 2018 could be Bill Belichick's last year, but we'll see what happens.
I think it's as latest as that, honestly, because there's
you don't think there's any way he coaches beyond 2018?
No, I'm saying that I think there's still a slight chance that he may not be back next year.
Nah, I think he'll be back. When would he announce that move? In May? he's going to say he's stepping down?
I would think it might have to, if it is going to happen, it would have to come soon. Now again, I'm just kind of speculating. I haven't seen anything like that, but I'm just saying. Think about it. And you and I were talking about this last night. You go back to the ESPN report. Now I know I'm not saying that this is any having to do with it, but some of the things that were in there, if they are true, we don't know that for sure. Brady, you had the Brady Alex Guerrero incident, and that friction's been going on. It seems to be for the last couple of years, and from in that report, Bob Kraft is siding with his quarterback, and Bill Belichick did not seem happy about that at all because it was affecting his locker room because you had guys going in and out and end up not trusting the Patriots medical staff, going to this guy instead afterwards, and Belichick had to intervene and make sure guys were going to the team medical staff. I mean, once you start having that kind of friction, it's not good, and it doesn't make a healthy locker room. Now, I guess if there was anything, they were able to put it aside because they made another Super Bowl run again this year. But this loss could have been the last straw if there's any friction like that happening, and especially if I'm Belichick, if I don't know if I have my owner, why come back, especially after what happened now in this Super Bowl here? So, and then you have this happen. I don't know. I wouldn't be completely surprised if it was next year. I still don't know that for sure, and I think it might have made more sense if he took over in 2019, like you're saying, Alex. But I'm not saying don't rule it out completely.
I rule it out completely. I mean, we have to, for your case to be true, those reports have to be spot on, and it has to be so bad that Belichick would walk away from winning another Super Bowl when football is all he's done and all he's known and what he's so good at. I don't think that that's going to be true enough, and whatever issues are there, and I'm sure there are some, can be worked out in the offseason. You have Tom Brady. We'll sit down, you'll hash it out, you'll figure out the process. I'm sure it's happened in the past, and you get it fixed again. Now, I don't, I think there's a good chance I should say there's a chance that, 2018 is Belichick's last year, but it's still going to be tough for him to walk away. I can't guarantee it's going to be definitely his last season. I think the idea of walking away and actually walking away are two completely different concepts. So we'll see what happens, but I think the bottom line is that clearly the expectation, at least is for McDaniels, to become the next Patriots coach, whenever that is, and that's why he turned on the Colts job.
Right, and obviously it would be a perfect setup for him there. Now, who knows how much time he'd have left with Brady, but still, obviously you have the full support of your owner, which obviously is the number one thing to have. And the other thing I'll say to this too, Alex, I mean, this obviously opens up a lot of things between the Patriots and the Colts again. I think everyone's saying the rivalry's back, and obviously this has a lot. I think might be the last shot from Kraft on the Deflategate issue, which to me I think he's just acting like a spoiled brat, to be honest with you, if that has anything to do with the Deflategate situation, because we know, take it for what it's worth, the Patriots were still guilty, and that was it.
Yeah, I don't know if the rivalry's back. I think Ballard's just saying that just have some sort of safe face and try to pump this up a little bit and spin it. The Ballard's by all accounts, a really good hire. The Colts are going to survive this. It's going to be tough. I don't know exactly who they're going to find as their head coach. But Ballard's the right man for the job. But is the rivalry back? Well, Colts are the Colts and Patriots are the Patriots. I don't see much of a rivalry really there, to be honest with you.
I really do fear that it is going to be Frank Reich, because we look at, unless somebody else just shoots out of nowhere, look at the candidates that are left right now. And he's probably the best qualified candidate out there for the Colts.
Yeah, well, I like Dave Tabb in Kansas City a lot. I think special teams coaches should get a lot more credit and interest in being a head coach because they work with every single position group. They know the entire team, so they're going to be comfortable with doing that because that's obviously a big responsibility of a head coach. They're not just being on one side of the ball, living in a bubble. So you could go either way, but I think Dave Taub, he's got a relationship with Ballard when Ballard was in KC. That seems very possible and definitely logical. That would probably be my choice if I had to choose, but we'll see what happens.
Right, absolutely. The only thing I think that hurts Frank Reich's case is that he's still under the shadow of Doug Peterson, an offensive-minded coach who's kind of mostly been through this. That'd be my only thing. But I still think he's a good candidate nonetheless, because he's still actively helping with the game plan each and every week, which have been brilliant through this entire playoff run for the Eagles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, that's going to be interesting to take a look at there. But, of course, Eagles getting ready to do their celebration here at the Art Museum. It's following through right now. Again, recording this on a Thursday and breaking down Super Bowl 52, which was an amazing one. Eagles win 41-33. From an outside Philadelphia perspective, Alex, before we wrap it up, what has been your thoughts on the Eagles finally winning this? The Eagles fan base, long starving for 57 years, and they finally get their Super Bowl ring.
No, it's great for them. Definitely. Obviously, like you said, long overdue. Something this fan base has been waiting for a long time. Philly sports have been tough lately with the 76ers, the Phillies, and what the Eagles have gone through, their transformation. But for Peterson just to turn this team around, post-Chip Kelly era, it was such a bad roster, all the moves that Kelly made that didn't work out. And he brought that in, and he combined that with scheme and energy and trust and confidence in his players, and identified talent through the draft, made a couple free agency moves, a couple moves through the draft, and man, when you check all those boxes, you get a Super Bowl contender, and that's what happened.
Right. I think, and I know I said this a few weeks ago prior to the game, Alex. I think this is probably the best coaching job I've ever seen, in not only in Philly sports, but I think in all sports. I think this definitely ranks up there, considering everything the Eagles had to go through, Peterson's background coming into his first 2 years. It's got to be up there.
Yeah, it's hard for me to quantify exactly where it's at, but I agree, it's right up there.
And so, Alex, the Eagles are Super Bowl champions, and what's even better, when the draft comes to Dallas in April this year, the Eagles are going to be introduced as the defending champs making their pick, and that is going to be pretty spectacular. I certainly can't wait for that.
I'm sure you can. I'm sure Dallas can wait a little while longer.
Especially after they trolled, I forgot who it was that trolled the Eagle fan base during the draft last year. I forgot who that was, but that was just that's going to be fun to do. I'll be curious if they do those player picks, former players doing the picks. I wonder who that will be. I vote for Seth Joyner for the Eagles, but we'll see how that goes. Well, this is going to do it for our regular season edition of the show. Alex, I know we've talked about it, and we're going to try and play things by ear. If anything big comes up throughout the offseason, we'll come back and we'll chat then. But other than that, this is probably going to be it until we get closer to the draft here.
Yeah, but we'll have so much to talk about the next time for agency draft. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yep, absolutely. Until then, make sure you can always follow us on Twitter for the latest NFL opinions and news and notes from us. Podcast on Twitter at NG_NFL. Alex is on Twitter at Alex_Kazora. And I am on Twitter at MCatrillo. So that's going to do it for our Super Bowl recap edition. The Eagles, Super Bowl champions. What an unbelievable season it's been. We thank you for listening to us all season long. Be sure to stay tuned for when our next show will be as we now begin the off season. Certainly when it comes to free agency and, of course, for the draft, we'll be back for those time periods in the league. Other than that, we'll talk to you guys soon. This has been the Next Game, New Game podcast.